Monday Night Wars podcast.
Two, one. I did it. Hello and welcome. Wow.
That was wild.
Wow.
That was wild.
Puberty
you
has...
want to take that one over again?
No, we do this shit live.
Oh, my God.
We do it live, worldwide. And then I also said the S word, and we don't swear on the normal podcast because this is a family show. Whatever. Anyways, we are live with WCW Nitro. This is the Road to Uncensored 1998. We start in February 23rd, 1998, and we're at the Arco Arena in Sacramento, California. That's where the Kings used to play. It was the Sleep Train Arena for a while. It's now gone, but I lived next to it. There was a time when I lived next to it, and it was a vacant husk because the Kings play downtown now.
Yeah.
They finally tore it down. It's going to be like a medical center or something like that. But yeah, it was there for a long time.
That's funny.
After they left. But here we are. I'm Scott.
Yeah.
With me, as always, is Joseph. Joseph, how you doing?
I'm good. And so we've had, I guess, some listener interaction, listener or viewer interaction, depending on how.
We suck.
Yeah. They said, look, we know we've been following you guys for a while, but it's time to tell you. Wrap it up. So we had some changes with our our format, and so wanted to kind of get a pulse check on how things were going. Right off the top, people were like, kind of prefer if we have the one episode for the Road to, separate episode for the actual pay-per-view. So that's easy. That's an easy thing for me to edit. That's not a problem. So we did that with the last. I want to say the last two episodes we've done that. Anyways, and so we're going to again do that with this one. And then we were kind of asked, like, because we have a different format now, like, is there anything people want? And the surprising thing, as you are on your phone, is that people actually like it when we kind of bullshit at the top. And so, but there was an amendment to the bullshit, which was that, so we had a few people who said that they like it when we talk about, like, kind of modern wrestling related issues and things like that, current events. Yeah. And then, I made a joke on our Patreon that we were just going to start bullshitting about everything. And then Ronnie came in and he put the kibosh on that.
No. Good guy, Ronnie. Cause I agree.
He said that there apparently in Germany, they have a wrestling podcast, and the people will spend like the first 30 minutes talking about an energy drink that they are trying. So I like to take this time to talk about Monster Energy Ultra Peachy Keen right there, which I actually did not plan, but it worked out perfectly. It's the peachy keeniest of all energy drinks.
Yep. There goes Ronnie. Ronnie's gone. Ronnie is off.
The consensus seems to be if we're talking about wrestling related things or like fun little stories, people are kind of enjoy that. But if we just started like talking about random shit for no reason, much like the friend that you have who just turns off the podcast, if that happens, they would turn it off. So that does bring us to a current event, which is that
our first segment,
last episode or the episode prior, one of the most recent episodes, we were talking about Cody Rhodes. Basically, he's going to get the championship back, and then he's going to have to face Randy Orton in WrestleMania. And we were out on that. You and I were not a fan of that. Well, they did it, and then something happened last night, Scott. Why don't you tell the people about it, because it has turned the corner for you on how you feel about the rivalry.
Well, Trips is clearly listening to the pod.
Absolutely,
because we said we weren't feeling Road Dogg anymore in creative, and Road Dogg's gone. Trips heard the pod, he cut it, he's out. But he clearly hadn't heard the pod where we didn't want Cody to get the title back, because he gave Cody the title back. He got to that episode and he said, I got to fix this.
Yes, absolutely.
I got to fix it.
Yes.
And boy, did he. because on SmackDown last night, and it's on Twitter and YouTube and all that, so you guys can go watch it for yourself if you don't watch the current product.
Yeah.
Randy Orton murdered Cody Rhodes. The man is dead. No, it was crazy. Randy let the intrusive thoughts in and proceeded to beat Cody all over the ring, left him a bloody mess. Ends with a great shot of Randy sitting in a chair in the ring, holding the title. You can see Cody kind of off to the side, bloodied, laying on the announce table. Randy put the stairs behind him and then hit the chair. Very safe spot. Didn't actually hit Cody. I love a good safe spot that looks gnarly.
Yeah.
But then Cody's kind of looking back at him, just bloodied. And that's how it ends. And I'm back in because we've had Cody's annual ritualistic sacrifice to the altar of WrestleMania.
Yes.
And I'm back in. Back in. I am a Cody crybaby. I want vengeance for this injustice. Joseph, I don't think you're as in as I am, though, right?
I'm not. I should say to start this, I am also a Cody crybaby. So like, there is no ill will from either of us to Cody. We can like someone and still not think that they're being booked properly, right? I think Cody is the one who should have turned heel, frankly.
That's fair.
Because everyone wants to cheer Randy here. They want Randy to get the 15th. It's been a long time since he has been champion, so that is actually something significant. When he went and turned heel, as he's losing his mind on Cody and just going to town, the crowd is cheering him. They want Randy to win this match. So it's difficult for me to know, and Cody's very defiant on this. He's even on a podcast recently where he's like, he didn't say these words. I'm paraphrasing. He basically said he doesn't care that people want him to turn heel. If anything, it fuels him more to be an over babyface. And there is some merit in that. Cody, like people compare Cody right now to Hulk Hogan so much. And it is not a fair comparison, but it does make me laugh that in 2K26, I made a Hulk Hogan outfit for Cody as an attire.
As you should.
Because I think it's the most ridiculous, funny thing ever. Does Cody have a top spot? Absolutely. Does he keep that top spot and only give it up when he feels necessary? Absolutely. Is he a racist piece of shit? No. Does he hold people down that we know of? No.
I thought you were about to tell me some stuff about Cody there. I was like, how is this possible? But no, it's good to know that Cody's a good guy, you know?
Yeah, I think he's a good dude. I think he is protective of his spot. And frankly, if you're the top, you should be. Like, that's just the reality. Like, you should be, you need to knock me off. I shouldn't give you this spot. That I think is the correct idea. That being said, I do think you can still be at the top as a heel.
I just say, I think, to your point about how he's protective of his spot, I think you have to be, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just about you, it's also about the story. Is me dropping the title good for the story? Because I go back again to that Austin thing where he just wasn't gonna job out on a random Monday Night Raw. He's like that, like
makes no sense.
He's protecting his spot. But he's also like, it's not good for the story, and that's fine.
Yes, I'm 100% on with that. So it's weird. Like I'm torn here because I do like Cody a lot, and I think Cody absolutely is one of your top, 2-3 guys. I think people who try to say otherwise are like, frankly, just really stupid. Like, just like, I don't have a better way to say it. Like, I know that's really negative, but like, you just have to be one of the dumbest motherfuckers on the face of the earth to think that Cody is not one of the top 2 or 3 guys in wrestling today. And when I say that, I'm not saying necessarily best wrestler. I am saying draws the most money, has the biggest impact on the business. That's what I'm talking about. Cody's a phenomenal wrestler. You could easily name a bunch of wrestlers who are, quote unquote, from a technical standpoint, better than Cody. But none of those guys bring in what Cody brings in. So it's difficult for me to be like, oh, you just like stop giving him his opportunities. I think it's a weird transition from we dropped the belts to Drew. We were going to do this whole thing. And then we decided to just hand the belt right back. Like that part makes no sense.
Mhm.
The end result and the beginning result, I think both of those worked. If you wanted to have Drew be the guy going into WrestleMania to face Randy Orton, I think that works. If you wanted Drew to not be the champion a while ago and have Cody be the guy going against Randy Orton, I think that works. It's the middle ground of how we got to those things that makes no sense to me. So anyways, I'm still not quite sold on it. We've got quite a few weeks left of wrestling before WrestleMania. We got 3 or 4 weeks. So we got time. Like they got time to figure this out. I think yesterday was a good step for sure because like it had the effect people wanted. People were losing their mind on Twitter. People were super excited, like you, they're back in. So I think that's fine. I think, overall it's fine. I'm sure they'll get there. Cody and Randy know how to put on a good story, so I'm not really that concerned about it. I would like to see Randy win. So my philosophy with wrestling is that
that's my next question. So finish your thought and I'm asking you another question.
Okay. My philosophy with wrestling is you should have your 2 or 3 guys who are kind of the focal point of your main event scene. And every year there should be a wild card that somehow disrupts that. Because it allows you to kind of break things up for a little bit. And it also allows you to build new stars. And I think Randy is not a new star by any stretch, but Randy has not been the top guy for a long time. Like there was a time when Randy Orton was winning championships left and right. Those days are long gone. They are long gone. But giving him one last run, not a problem. Not a problem at all. And I think it does disrupt kind of the flow of Cody being the guy constantly to allow for something new and fresh. So I'm into that. Now, I will say this whole idea I would never have booked. Going back to Elimination Chamber, I would never have booked any of this. And it wouldn't be Randy in this spot. It wouldn't be Cody in this spot. It would be Drew McIntyre and it would be Sami Zayn. That's how I would have booked this because they had a clear storyline when they did the Royal Rumble at Saudi Arabia that Sami Zayn was 0-11 against Drew McIntyre. And they kept harping on that. And then Drew McIntyre beat him again, making him 0-12 against Drew McIntyre. And the whole thing was, will he ever get the job done? He's had a couple title shots. He's never gotten the job done. That so clearly led into, Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble. You have him feud with CM Punk. That's a really good feud right now. Then you have the Elimination Chamber. Sami pulls off the upset, the Elimination Chamber. He gets one more shot against Drew McIntyre, and finally he triumphs over Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. That's how I would have done that. And I would not give them a main event. I would have given them the opener to WrestleMania Night 1. And I would have given the women the main event of WrestleMania Night 1.
Bold take. They won't do that. I agree, but they won't do that.
Yeah, they won't. They have given the women the main event of WrestleMania Night 2 before. Like it's actually happened. So it's not like it's impossible. I just don't think they're going to do that right now. Regardless, that's what I would have done. I would have made it where it made a lot of sense, and you have this clear storyline that had started at Royal Rumble. Really, it started years prior because you have again 0-11. That's a lot of footage and things you can go into, and just work that all the way through. And you had this perfectly. The storyline was so obvious. You could have put a bow on it. Like that's how easy this storyline was. So that's what I would have done. Obviously, you like to do this, right? Well, those aren't the parameters. Those aren't situations. So what would you do with what this current thing is? I think the answer is Randy needs to win the championship. I think it gives enough of a disrupt to make some fresh ideas going forward.
So that leads to my question, right? Because I agree that I think it makes sense for Randy to win here. But doing that, isn't that the third WrestleMania in a row that Cody has lost and dropped the title? No. Am I not wrong? Am I wrong?
He won. I
can't remember.
He won WrestleMania 40.
Okay.
And that was when he won the title. He lost WrestleMania 39, won at WrestleMania 40 to finally finish his story. He won both main events of Night 1 and Night 2. And then last year he did lose at WrestleMania. So it would be his second straight WrestleMania of losing. So no, I don't think that's a problem.
Okay. Because I was just like, Because is it getting a little repetitive? Does he lose it and then he wins it back? Whatever. It's getting a little repetitive here,
Well,
which is, I think, a problem.
Also, like, I do love the idea of Cody turning heel. I think that would have been so much
Yes.
fun because so one of the reasons why, like, I also get why
We've
Cody.
wanted heel Cody since AEW.
Yes. One of the reasons why I get why Cody is the way he is Cody was given for years one horrible gimmick after another and turned it into basically perfection for what you can do with that gimmick. Dashing Cody Rhodes, stupid. He turned it into perfection. The masked Cody Rhodes, which was basically the next form of Dashing Cody Rhodes, stupid. He turned it into perfection. Stardust, stupid. He turned it into perfection. He did the right thing with every single one of these things and was never moving up the card. So he's done all the legwork to get to where he's at. Anyone who thinks otherwise, again, I question your judgment. I'll say it that way. So I get why he's super protective of it. But there does come a point where it's like, man, heel Cody at this point, at truly the top of his game, heel Cody would be so much fun. Don't give him Paul Heyman. Don't give him necessarily a faction. Just let him be a bag of shit and let him run with that. The literal difference between heel Cody and face Cody is that one is just admitting he's an asshole. Because he's got the look.
Yeah,
He's got the look. He wears 3-piece suits every day. He looks like $1 million. Just let him be an asshole.
Yeah, well, I think Cody is the perfect heel that doesn't know he's a heel gimmick, right?
Yes.
Like, I think I'm a nice guy, and then I'm snapping people's ankles and stuff, right? It's the Kurt Angle storyline of Kurt Angle's America's sweetheart. He thinks he's America's champion. And everybody hates him, and so he's like, fine.
Yeah.
If you hate me, I'll just start hurting people.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so easy because I love the Kurt Angle heel turn. It's one of my favorite heel turns of all time, and I feel like it's perfect for Cody though. I think I'm a good guy.
Yes.
And then I'm just bludgeoning people,
and honestly, having him say more and more that he is a good guy while he's doing these horrible things is what would work. Is just letting him do horrific things. I mean, within the confines of what you can do in a weekly television show. And then just justifying it every single time. It's kind of what Chris Jericho is doing right now in WCW, where we're at, but on a much grander scale because he's got so much more, as the kids would say these days, aura behind him.
Wow. Well, I gotta say though, I love the way you brought it back to what we're watching right now because I feel like it's now time.
I think so. I think enough has been said, and that was a perfect transition.
It was so good. So let's get back. We're going back. We're getting back in our time machine. To February 23rd, 1998, Arco Arena, Sacramento, California. Here is the card. We've got Lex and Kurt Hennig. We got DDP and Hammer for the WCW United States Championship. Wonder how that one's going to go. Ultimo Dragon versus Kaz Hayashi. I'm going with it.
Yes.
Chris Benoit versus Raven. We're still doing that. Chris Jericho, there he is right there, versus Lenny Lane for the WCW Cruiserweight. I can't even get through this one without laughing. Cruiserweight Championship. Rick Steiner versus Vincent.
As you do. Yep.
This card, I'm concerned. Yuji Nagata versus Saturn. All right. We're getting back here. Booker T versus the Renegade. Just feel bad for that guy. For the WCW Television Championship. He has we've talked about his story here. He has a sad story.
Yes.
Conan versus Lizmark Jr. Oh, here we go. Vicious and Delicious versus High Voltage, a power plant product we actually kind of like, but don't really see. Eddie Guerrero versus Disco Inferno. Ric Flair versus Brad Armstrong. Bret Hart versus Bryan Adams.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. Well, at least our main event will salvage this. It's Scott Hall and Sting for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Isn't that supposed to be the main event of the next pay-per-view? What is going on, Joseph? Explain this all to me. What is WCW doing?
It is certainly an interesting night. So the few things at the top to kind of remember from whatever the last I think the last pay-per-view was sold out or something like that, or Super Brawl, one of the two.
It's Super Brawl.
Super Brawl. Okay. Scott Steiner turned heel, attacked Rick Steiner. He has joined the NWO. We are one step closer to Big Papa Pump. And then also Sting is now the World Heavyweight Champion. He has officially been crowned champion. There was no shenanigans.
Not at all.
And he
Hogan went over clean.
Yeah.
Good guy Hogan went over clean. This is sarcasm for those of you that don't pay for the Patreon.
Yes. So yeah. Anyways, we begin tonight's show with clips of wrestlers condemning Scott Steiner for turning his back on Rick. DDP calls it a true low. Booker T calls this selling out. And Ric Flair says he's disappointed, which is kind of surprising that Ric Flair didn't go further than that, but that's all he says. We then get a promo from Lex. He has his ribs wrapped up, which I love. Lex demands a couple of things, but first he congratulates Sting. He then calls out Scott Steiner, saying he wants to beat some sense into him. He wants him right now. Instead, Lex gets Kurt Hennig. Scott Steiner attacks Luger and causes the DQ during this match. He now looks like the Scott Steiner we know and love. Bleach blonde hair, partially blonde goatee, and most importantly, proving that late 90s and early 2000s sunglasses are the best.
Let me stop you there for a second because I have to make a programming note. A podcast or two ago, wrongfully told our listeners that we had gotten our first bleach blonde Scott Steiner sighting. I was wrong. This is it. I apologize to our listeners. We pride ourselves on truth in reporting here, so I just had to correct the record for everyone listening.
And I appreciate that. That shows a lot of integrity. Luger starts fighting back, but Bagwell attacks him. Rick Steiner evens the odds and confronts Scott, but the NWO attack him. Sting then comes down and chases them all off. After this, we get the Nitro Girls.
Nitro Girls!
Raven's Flock comes out, and Hammer takes on DDP. They have a pretty fun match, and DDP wins with an avalanche diamond cutter. The Flock attack DDP, and they are chased off by Chris Benoit. This will set up the pay-per-view quite nicely. Hogan and Bischoff arrive in a limo, but there is someone else in the limo who they will not let us see. They storm the ring. Hogan calls Sting a coward, then calls out Nick Patrick saying he cheated. He calls Sting small stuff and says he doesn't sweat the small stuff, which is actually a line I kind of like from Hogan. He decides to prove that Sting is not the man and that Scott Hall will bring the belt back to the family. Then he calls out Macho Man for attacking him last night, saying he hit him with a 10-foot-long crowbar. It was a spray can that he hit him with, not a crowbar. So I don't quite...
I don't hate this. I don't like... I kind of like this is good heel Hogan stuff, like the embellishing, right?
Yes.
Like, because Hogan isn't knocked out by a measly spray can. It was a 10-foot crowbar when we can clearly see it wasn't, but I like that.
He challenges him at Uncensored in a steel cage match so he can put an end to Savage once and for all. And then we hear, ooh, yeah, brother, 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 brother. You, Hollywood, are not kicking me out of the NWO. I'm kicking you out. Your nightmare has just started. Uncensored, steel cage. I like it. Ooh, yeah. And then Hogan says he will bury Mach. And then Mach says, that's not gonna happen. And when you guys in the NWO do this, and he has the Too Sweet logo, that means the Macho Man is just too sweet. That's it. It's great. I love it. It's Mach.
It's beautiful. It's Mach.
Kaz Hayashi versus Ultimo Dragon, and Dragon wins with the Dragon Sleeper. Also, I apparently had a stroke when I wrote this, and I put I put Drawn wins with the Dragon Sleeper. I have no idea who Drawn is, but there you go.
Maybe a new wrestler.
new gimmick change for Ultimo Dragon.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Mean Gene tells us about the hotline. Then we see a Nitro party. After this, Raven faces Benoit, who is right behind him in Raven's entrance, and attacks him. Raven eventually brings in a chair, so I guess this is Raven's rules. Kidman eventually interferes and causes a DQ. What? So is it a no DQ or is it a DQ? Okay.
I don't know, man.
The Flock attack and DDP saves Benoit, but then all three men start fighting between DDP, Benoit, and Raven. Again, perfectly setting up their match at Uncensored, and it's going to be a fun match. So if you want to hear about it, $2 a month on our Patreon. And then, Scott, you're going to love this.
Tell me. I gotta know.
Nitro Girls.
What? Nitro Girls.
I love it. Jericho takes on Lenny Lane. Jericho comes out wearing Hoovie's mask. That's right. I forgot. Jericho won. He won against Hoovie, so Hoovie had to unmask.
I didn't like the mask match, but I like Jericho wearing the mask. I think he's making the best of a storyline I don't particularly like.
Yes, I agree. I 100% agree. He cuts a promo and celebrates taking the mask, and he wants the name of this show changed from Monday Nitro to Monday Jericho. Kind of the very first time we get like a Monday Night Jericho or a Raw is Jericho or any of that kind of stuff. This is him figuring it out. He's starting to really realize the more conceited he is, the better this character is. Jericho, of course, wins this match against Hall of Famer Lenny Lane with a Lion Tamer. Vincent then takes on Rick Steiner, and Rick beats the hell out of him for the win. That's the match. Yuji Nagata faces Perry Saturn. This is a fine match, but we are pushing Saturn, who locks in the rings of Saturn for the win. Renegade is back, and he's going against Booker T for the WCW World Television Championship. Booker T, of course, wins this with the Harlem Sidekick. We get another weird match where Conan faces Liz Mark Jr. Conan wins with the Tequila Sunrise, then cuts a promo calling out Hoovie, saying he got punked, and without the mask, he's nothing. And then we get Nitro Girls.
Nitro Girls.
Vicious and Delicious versus High Voltage. Bagwell wins this with a blockbuster. Not a whole lot to say in this match. Eddie Guerrero, like you said, takes on Disco Inferno, and Eddie wins with a frog splash. And then Nitro Girls.
Nitro Girls.
I love the more they do Nitro Girls because you just have to keep figuring out what you're going to do next. I actually had no intention of putting them on here, and then last time you went ham, so I was like, all right, we're going to see how much he can do.
Good Lord.
Mean Gene interviews J.J. Dillon, and the crowd again boos. Good. Gene wants Dillon's take on last night. Why, though? Last night was legal, so why dwell on it? This is about the Sting and Hogan match. What are we doing? Dillon gives a dumb promo that is unneeded. Just tell us Sting is champ. We know. We watched the pay-per-view. Or you watched the Patreon. We know. He asks Nick Patrick to come out and congratulates him for apparently reffing a good ref. Why are we still doing this? Why? Stop. Just get J.J. Dillon out of here. Ric Flair faces Brad Armstrong, locks in the figure 4 for the win. We get a giant vignette, meaning a vignette about the giant, not just a very big vignette. Mean Gene.
Wagging it, smacking it, dude.
Mean Gene that interviews the giant, who's in a neck brace and wants to know about the injury. Giant says he always knew he was taking a risk getting in the ring, and says that Kevin Nash tried to break his neck. He says Nash is always on his mind. He wants Nash to be allowed to use the powerbomb, so next time he faces him, he can beat him with no excuses. Honestly, I kind of like this. It makes a lot of sense. I think it makes perfect sense from the giant. I'm fine with it. Overall, I'm fine with the idea. Gene interviews Brian Adams and asks, what has Bret Hart done to him? And Adams calls Gene an amoeba and says everyone makes him sick. He is here to join the most elite force in wrestling, which is the NWO. He says he won't break a sweat beating Bret Hart. Bro, you sweating now. Then Bret Hart interrupts and the two start throwing hands. Bret locks in a sharpshooter until Hennig attacks Hart. Flair eventually evens things up, so surely these two will love each other forever. Flair then cuts a promo and puts over Bret, so surely these two will love each other forever. Bret says he will take the NWO brick by brick, and Hart challenges Hennig at Uncensored. And then finally, we get our main event. It's Scott Hall versus Sting. However, the entire NWO minus Hall come out. NWO says if Sting faces Hall, they will leave. What? That's the booked main event. What are you talking about? Why is this a thing? Sting comes out and gets attacked by a fake Sting. So fake Sting's back, who is Hall. And the NWO beat him up, and Savage attacks the NWO, but he gets mauled. We have a new NWO member in the ring, and commentary is confused by this. It's actually the Disciple, who actually does look cool. The Disciple is formerly Brutus Beefcake. He was the Zodiac, I think, No, he was after the Zodiac. What was he? The
Booty Man, bro.
Booty Man.
How could you forget the Booty Man? Come on.
He's on the tip of my tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Booty Man, Zodiac, Brutus the Barber Beefcake. He has lost some weight, and that's not a knock on him. I mean, he's gotten very shredded. He's thinned out, very shredded. He's super rugged. He's clearly in the best shape of his life. He still can't wrestle, but hey. We close the show with Luger chasing the NWO off with the chair. Overall, weird Nitro. Very weird. I don't really know what to say about this. I liked the Mach stuff, obviously, because it's Mach. I don't like what it's leading to, but I like the Mach stuff. Jericho's doing well, but there's like a lot of just like thrown together matches. The only thing that's really significant is this triple threat, you might call it, of DDP, Raven, and Benoit. This actually becomes a lot of fun over the next few weeks, and we've only got 2 more weeks until Uncensored from this paper or from this episode of Nitro. I call it Raw. I meant to call it Nitro. Yeah, so it's a short run. That is fun, but this is just like, again, you've only got 3 weeks between pay-per-views. You got to hit the ground running, and they're kind of not, except for like they seem to think that if they just throw everybody in the ring at the same time, that equals something. And they did that like 3 times.
Pull aparts.
Yeah.
Pull apart. There was a poll. I mean, we've talked about it. Eric Bischoff did a poll of what people like, and people like pull apart. So there's always a pull apart. There's always got to be a pull apart. Yeah, this is bad. I'm just, this is coming off of Super Brawl, which is one of your flagship pay-per-views, right? That's one of your big ones, and they've got nothing, and they're still doing the Sting thing because again, Hogan wouldn't go down clean. So while Sting he's the champion, but again, there's a little bit of funny business, which Hogan is now using. If Mach interfered, or else I would have won. So he's not the real champion. I feel so bad for Sting. This is not a great time in his life, first of all, and I can see why. Because, like, obviously he's got a lot of stuff going on in his personal life, but the product he is being forced to be in, where they will not let him just be the champion, and just like that he's earned, right? He's the franchise. This is the house that Sting and Ric Flair. These are the guys that built this company, and they just won't let him have the title fair and square. Well, Hogan won't, and Eric Bischoff won't tell Hogan no. It's so bad, and it makes everything else going on, which also isn't good, but it just makes me a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
I agree with you that I thought Ric Flair just saying he was disappointed was weird, especially after later in the night he makes a big deal about Bret Hart and WCW, and that they're WCW for life and all that. It felt kind of a weird tone shift. I was sad that Chris Jericho beat Lenny Lane, who was in my ears and in my eyes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That's a Beatles reference for you young kids listening. It's Penny Lane, which is a great song. Give it a
and
listen.
a very attractive model.
Oh, really?
Yes. Like she is
Penny?
yes, exactly like the song, Penny Lane. All over
Interesting.
the webs.
Is that her real name?
I think so.
I'm gonna Google this.
She's the right age group where that would have been her parents being like, "Oh, we love the song," so you know what I mean. So could be not.
Yeah. Well, I don't know anybody who names their kids after Beatles songs. But anyways,
he's making fun of my brother.
His brother. I actually like High Voltage, which I think
Yes,
I
I
think you
agree.
do too.
Yeah.
I like their look. They're okay in-ring performers. It's just I wish we'd do more with them.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're jobbers. It's kind of weird they're jobbers because they have the look that WCW wants.
And yeah, they're big as hell. So jobbing them out is like you kind of need like a really big team to beat them. But yeah, it's strange. They're not great, to be clear. We do like them. There's potential in them.
Yes. They absolutely have the look, but they're power plant prospects where it's really all about the look. It's not really about their in-ring abilities. But they're not the worst of the power plant products, I feel, in their abilities. Like, they're okay.
Honestly,
they can go.
If I was booking this, the last tag team in the world that needed Ted DiBiase was the Steiners. There was no reason for that. Give High Voltage Ted DiBiase. Give them someone who is older, understands, can teach, all that. That makes perfect sense. I think that would have been a great idea because that way he can take over their mic for them. They can kind of learn from him. He can give them. Ted DiBiase was a great wrestler in his time. He can teach them in-ring psychology and all that stuff. Like, there's just so many like no duh moments here in WCW that it's just like when people who may or may not be Eazy-E talk about the downfall of WCW, it is not one. Everyone wants to go to like one thing. It's a bunch of really small things that cascaded. That's what it is, right? Much like the Beatles breaking up. Anyways,
wow, what a way to bring it back. What a way to bring it back.
Actually, my friend asked me that the other day. He goes, do you think Paul McCartney broke up the Beatles? And he just saw that I was typing and he went, "Oh no, I've just unlocked an essay." And he did. It was his fault. So anyways, yeah, like there's just so many little small things they could have done that would have given them a really good future. And they didn't do any of those things. The one exception really is kind of Goldberg. That's kind of it. Beyond that, they don't do anything to like cement their future. And even with Goldberg, they eventually fumble that. Goldberg had to lose at some point, and we'll get there.
Yes.
The way he loses.
But yes.
So.
Yeah. It's infamous. It's the cover of Guy Evans's Nitro book, which is very good. You should read it, which I hyped many times. This is not a paid promotion, Ronnie. Don't click off. Anyways.
Monster Ultra Peachy Keen.
Oh no. I gotta get us over to the next item before you start shilling more product. March 2nd, 1998, Philadelphia Spectrum, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They went from Sacramento all the way across the country to Philadelphia in a week. Good Lord.
Yeah.
This is Nitro, and we've got Chris Benoit continuing to just tear through Raven's flock, going against Riggs.
Yeah.
We've got the next one though. This is a hot one. We've got two of our listeners' favorites. We've got Juventud versus Chavo Guerrero Jr.
Yes.
I'm going to turn Chavo into a Mandela effect thing where people think that's what it is because that's what I think it is and I don't care. Prince Iaukea versus Psychosis, Raven versus Disco Inferno. I know you're pleased that Disco Inferno has become a jobber. I know that pleases you. Public Enemy versus Hugh Morris and the Barbarian. Bill Goldberg versus Sick Boy, Diamond Dallas Page versus Hammer, because he's also going at the flock now, for the WCW United States Championship. Scott Norton versus the British Bulldog. Super Callow versus Conan. Scott Steiner versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I love you, Hacksaw. I'm sorry they're doing this to you. First time we've seen Hacksaw in TV in a while, and I was like, hell yeah, Hacksaw. And then I saw who he's wrestling. I said, oh no, Hacksaw, what are they doing to you? We got a tag team match. We got Booker T and Dean Malenko versus Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero. We've got Bryan Adams and Bret Hart again, because we need that. And then we've got Hollywood Hogan and Scott Hall versus Randy Savage and Sting. I was kind of into this, and then I stopped being. Tell me about it, Joseph.
I will say the main event I actually very much approve of. I think you got your multiple storylines in tag team. I like the idea, not necessarily the execution, but we'll get into it. We start with a recap of last week, but you don't need to worry about the recap because you just listened to it.
About 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, a limo shows up, and it's the NWO. No way. Chris Benoit takes on Scotty Riggs and wins with the crippler crossface. We then get a Randy Savage vignette where he is at Harvard for some reason, and I laughed. Hogan and Bischoff come out, and Bischoff calls Mach a midget. Mach was small for the giants of his era, but he's also my height at 6'1", so okay. Hogan calls him a piece of crap and calls out his marriage, because of course Hogan does. He says he will beat Mach. We then see Gene at a Nitro party at St. Joseph's University, and he asks the female co-eds if they have a boyfriend. And I went, ooh, this is not good. We have defended Gene in the past for just kind of being like cheeky pervy. This is playful. A little bit too far over the edge. Can't really defend that. It's like, oh God, Gene, just stop, bro. Stop.
Yeah.
Chavo Guerrero faces Juventud Guerrero. The unmasked Hoovy wins with the 450 splash. He says this is not the end, it's his beginning, which I thought was pretty cool. Turn something out of nothing. Or turn nothing out of something, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? More Nitro Party. We're going to see this a lot tonight. Psychosis versus Prince Iaukea. Prince wins when he converts an avalanche head scissors into a pin. Pretty inventive from Prince Iaukea. This is like towards the end of us seeing him, but there you go. Raven,
we don't hate Prince Iaukea.
We don't. We don't
hate him.
Raven beats Disco Inferno with the even flow DDT. Like you said, I love that he's a jobber right now. More Nitro Party. Barbarian and Hugh Morris go against Public Enemy, and Barbarian and Morris come out with their own table. This apparently gets made into a Philadelphia street fight, because every time they're in Philadelphia, they have a Philadelphia street fight, and it always is Public Enemy. And because get it, ECW. Hugh Morris superplexes Rocco Rock through a table, but then Public Enemy put Hugh Morris through a table for the win in just an ugly, ugly match. Anyways, Randy Savage comes out and says, "Ooh yeah, Hollywood Hogan, you are pathetic. Me being in your shadow, the only dark cloud I got hovering over me is the fact that I've been carrying you all these years. And when the NWO says for life, you better be real, real glad of it, because without the NWO, you wouldn't have a life. Tonight, when the madness gets Hollywood, we're gonna find out who's lying and who's dying. Because like you've always said, Hollywood, it's only business. And tonight, for one night, and one night only, the Macho Man and Sting are gonna do business, because that's the only way that we can get you two cowards in the ring. And Sting is gonna do business my way. Oh yeah." Sting comes out and tells Mach to hold on a second. He calls out Scott Hall and says he brought it this week. Survey says, "Scott Hall, you're dead." He then says, "Macho, macho, macho, brother, brother, brother." He says that for the last 16 months, whenever he saw Hogan's face, he saw Macho's. He doesn't forgive, and he doesn't forget. Tonight we have business. but I can only do business my way. This was Sting's first promo in over a year, and he crushes it. This is a phenomenal back and forth between the two of them. And then Goldberg kills Sick Boy. After the murder, we get an MTV presentation of Stuck Mojo with DDP in the video for Rising, which includes Raven's Flock fighting DDP, which WCW works into the current storyline. And as much as this song sucks, it's a really cool idea. Anyway, Mike Tenay interviews DDP and asks about this cameo. DDP says that he and Raven are different and calls Raven a crybaby. He challenges Raven on Thursday Thunder. Hammer grabs a mic and calls out DDP. DDP comes back out and we get a match between the two of them. DDP hits a diamond cutter and Raven attacks DDP, causing the DQ. Benoit rushes in, attacks Raven, but Raven ducks, and DDP accidentally hits Benoit. So all three men start brawling again. And again, this is leading us to the pay-per-view where it's going to be the three of them against each other. And I kind of just like these shenanigans. We then get more.
I don't hate this.
Yes.
I don't hate this, but I got to jump in here and say, didn't DDP have this exact storyline like last year where he had somebody that he was with and he accidentally hit them and it was like, oh, are you with me or against me? Didn't this exact thing happen? I swear
sometimes, look, they always ask for Freebird. You know what I mean? You got to play the hits.
I guess. I'm gonna have to go back, but I feel like this storyline has happened.
One of my employees said Hotel California came on, and he said, and we was talking to one of our very, very young employees. She's 19, and he goes, this is by far their most overplayed song. And I said, it's also their best song. That's why it's so overplayed.
Oh, whoa!
There's a reason for that. Anyways, he goes, I don't know if I agree with that, and I was like, because you're wrong.
I'm privy to one of these nights myself, but okay.
No, I didn't say favorite song. It's not my favorite song. It is their best song. It's not my favorite song. My favorite song is it's Take It to the Limit.
That's a good one.
That's my favorite song, but it's not their best song. Although Desperado also quite good. Anyways,
that's a good one.
Ronnie's going to get real mad at us in a second if we keep going down this tangent. So,
unless he's a big Eagles guy.
Yes, could be.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Tenay interviews Bret Hart, who calls out Kurt Hennig, saying he looks forward to wrestling Hennig. Again, he calls the NWO liars, cheaters, and bullies. We then get Scott Norton versus the British Bulldog. I forgot British Bulldog was here. This ends in a DQ and the two men brawl to the back, which seems to be how all British Bulldog matches have ended so far. They just, like I said, you play the hits. You know what I mean?
It's leading to a British street fight or something because we put something in front of street fight and we call it a day,
Oh, man. Anyways, Conan cuts a promo and says he got Hoovy his job, which is true. He calls out his heart and his courage. He says he is no longer Rasta. He then takes on Super Callow and he wins with the Tequila Sunrise. That's where I should have done the Eagles. That's.
I mean, it is just another Tequila Sunrise.
I was 2 segments away from tying these things together perfectly. Hoovy challenges Conan. Commentary also announces a triple threat match at Uncensored between DDP, Benoit, and Raven. Mike Tenay interviews Ric Flair, who says not a whole lot before Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude interrupt him. Hennig calls Flair a 14-time loser and that he will kick his teeth down his throat. The two start to fight and Rude helps Hennig, then counts 1, 2, 3 for him in a fake match. They continue to beat down Flair. Bret Hart finally runs out after a long time, which made me laugh because they basically beat the shit out of Flair before it ever happened. Like, it was just like, he just was like, hold on, let him get a little bit more in. All right, now I'll jump in. It's wild.
Well, I mean, his chops are too stiff, so, let him get a little bit.
More Nitro Party. Then Scott, you got to close your ears for this one. Scott Steiner faces Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Hacksaw loses. Nobody tells Scott. Moving on, Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero face Dean Malenko and Booker T. Jericho will face Malenko at Uncensored, and Guerrero will face Booker T. This match makes a lot of sense. Jericho cuts a promo saying that his first guest on Monday Jericho is Steady Eddie Guerrero. We get a fun match, and Eddie and Jericho have a natural chemistry. Malenko locks in the cloverleaf, and Booker T holds Eddie back from breaking it up, so Malenko wins. It's a really fun match, and I kind of wish they would do more with the two of them. Kevin Nash, Buff Bagwell, Scott Steiner, Conan, and Dusty Rhodes come out. Scott Steiner says Rick Steiner will join the NWO tonight. Rick comes down and he joins the NWO. What the hell? But it's the Swerve, bro. And Rick attacks Nash, but then he gets beat up because it's him versus everybody. The Giant eventually comes out and headbutts Nash. Then he power bombs him. After this, speaking of the NWO, new NWO member Brian Adams faces Bret Hart again. Hennig attacks mid-match and causes the DQ, which is seemingly the only finish WCW books.
Again.
Main event time as Hogan and Hall take on Sting and Mach. Again, this makes perfect sense. These are the two big rivalries going into your pay-per-view. These are main eventers. I'm actually on board with this. This starts as a brawl, but eventually Bischoff distracts the ref and Hogan hits Mach with a foreign object. This does not end the match, however. Sting locks in the Scorpion Deathlock, and then the NWO attack them, and we get another DQ. The Disciple hits a diamond cutter. What? DDP and Giant join, and
it's the Disciple cutter, bro.
DDP.
I made that up. I have no idea.
No, I know. I'm just as lost as you are. DDP and the Giant join and clear the NWO to end the show. So the big talking points on this are obviously Mach and Hogan, their continued rivalry. Sting and Hall, they're now trying to set up very quickly their rivalry, which they should have been able to set up a month ago, but they weren't able to because Hogan, Anyways. And then really like the DDP, Raven, and Benoit stuff. I genuinely like you. If you've listened to this show, presumably you have. I have been very out on Raven, especially in his tenure in WCW. I never watched ECW Raven. I just don't have that knowledge. It's a huge empty hole in my wrestling knowledge. I know TNA Raven, which I think is quite good in comparison. WCW Raven, I just can't get behind. And this is the first rivalry that I'm actually like, okay, this is fun. It's a little bit less of the what about me, what about Raven stuff. It's more of him just being a brawler, which I think works a lot. He's also a very good in-ring wrestler. Like he just is. And we're getting to see that. Like this triple threat, like I'm actually genuinely excited for. And it has single-handedly turned around, not completely, but a lot of my opinion on Raven, which is like, okay, you can use him correctly if you use him correctly. It just took them like a year to do it. So that's really my big talking point on this one. The rest of this episode is just DQ, 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 DQ.
I don't like the finish of the main event. I think it should have ended. Honestly, I'm tired of Hogan, but I feel like they should have won here.
Oh.
I feel like they should have won on Hogan hitting Mach with the foreign object, kind of a tit for tat thing, hit you back, because we want to build some momentum for the pay-per-view where in theory our good guys will win, and because that's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to, but because we're talking about Hogan, but in theory you want your good guys to be at a low point, right? Going into the pay-per-view that it's not looking good. So I mean, they won. I mean, Sting and Randy Savage won, and they won on a DQ in typical NWO fashion because we never do anything clean. But I kind of liked the Hogan hitting him with it, and it's like, I hit you back, brother. I hit you back. Tit for tat, like tagged you. I kind of like that idea, and then they just didn't do that. They just kept going. They're jobbing out Jim Duggan, which is a crime. Should not be happening. Should not be happening.
Yeah.
Should not be happening. I mean, to be fair, it kind of like I feel like Jim Duggan doesn't really fit in the new WCW. I get it. But I love my boy. I love my Jim Duggan.
But hear me out, though. Hear me out, though.
Tell me.
Jim
Tell me,
Duggan.
you got an idea.
Jim Duggan, new leader of the NWO.
That would be hot. That would be hot.
The NWO.
How about this?
Oh!
That's what I was just gonna say. We create a new faction, and it's the NWO, and it goes against the NWO. It is finally the faction we need that steps up and defeats the NWO. Thank God for Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Our long national nightmare is over. That is a Gerald Ford reference to when he pardoned Nixon. I don't know why I made that joke because no one listening is going to get that. But whatever. Let's move on because I'm done. It's March 9th.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it, right? This is our last one before. Yep. Yeah, it's our last one. This is our go home show. So let's see what they've. This has got to be a banger, right? Because you got to make me want to buy that pay-per-view. So let's see what we've got to get me salivating for that pay-per-view. The Cat versus Damien.
Yes.
Okay. Sick Boy versus Lenny Lane.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. Bill Goldberg. Barry Darso? What? Dean Malenko versus Billy Kidman, which I'm sorry, Billy. You're gonna get Texas Cloverleaf, bro. Chaos versus Brian Adams. Texas Cloverleaf is Dean Malenko's finisher, right?
Yeah.
Or it's his. Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure I didn't screw that up. Chaos versus Brian Adams. Scott Norton versus Juventud. Yeah. That seems to be working, so I'm going with it. Chris Benoit and DDP versus Raven and Saturn. That's going to be a hot one. I can tell. I mean, I know because I watched it, but like, come on. Conan and the British Bulldog. Jericho versus Disco Inferno. You're going to like that one for the WCW Cruiserweight title. Booker T versus Chavo Guerrero Jr. Kurt Hennig versus Ric Flair. We got a tag team match with Luger, Rick Steiner versus Scott Norton and Scott Steiner, the Scots.
Yes.
Okay. And then we've got a 6-man tag team match to close out the night where we've got Randy Savage, Sting, the Giant versus the NWO comprised of Hollywood Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. We started out kind of worrisome, Joseph, but I feel like the bottom half of the card, kind of interesting. What do you make of it?
And I will say this show actually leads to the main event. So I think that actually works pretty well. We see on Thursday, Thunder, that Mach had told Hogan that the members of the NWO are shaking his hand, smiling in his face, and they want to stab him in the back. He suggests that they are also calling him to get Hogan out of the NWO. And then suggests that he, being Mach, is sleeping with Hogan's wife, which I don't like, but Hogan started it, and Mach gonna finish it. Also, it would not shock me with Linda. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my God, allegedly.
Allegedly. I said I wouldn't be shocked. Didn't say it happened.
That's true.
That's on Monday, Ernest the Cat Miller faces Damien and the Cat wins. Bischoff and Hogan come out. Bischoff wants to talk about the lack of gratitude Randy Savage shows Hogan, saying that if it wasn't for Hogan, Savage's parents and brother would be living on the street and that Mach wouldn't be allowed in WCW. Hogan says Mach took it too far last week, but literally the Monday before, you brought up Mach's failed marriage with Liz. Like that, what? And,
that's different.
And then,
that's different.
And then now he says that, you might have slept with Linda, allegedly, but Liz is sleeping with the whole locker room.
Oh.
He then says that he is the real Macho Man, and you don't know. I'm out. I'm out. Mean Gene is at a Nitro party at Duke University. Sick Boy faces Hall of Famer Lenny Lane and wins with the cure, which is just the pedigree stolen.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Tenay interviews the Giant.
Ooh.
He wants to know about Uncensored. Giant says it's been a long time coming and the playing field is even. He has a bad neck and Nash has a bad back. He calls Nash yellow, which is the best way to call somebody a coward. He then introduces two friends of his, and these friends, and again, he calls them friends. And I just want to point out that one has recently quasi defected from the NWO, is Mach, and the other is Sting, who has not done anything with the Giant for many, many months. Anyways, these are his two friends.
Yeah, friends become enemies, enemies become friends. It's fine. It's fine.
Absolutely. And Mach, he grabs the mic and says, "Yo, Hollywood Hogan says that I'm alone. Call me crazy, but I don't feel alone. This guy right here," the Giant, "is about 8,000 feet tall, and he's known as the Giant. Yeah. And this scary man over here with Hollywood Hogan, he is the world heavyweight champion, and he's known as Sting. Bottom line, Hollywood, the Giant, the Macho Man and Sting, we're the bomb, brother." Sting starts swinging his bat at a turnbuckle. I don't know what the turnbuckle did to Sting, but he's swinging at it. "Now here's the deal, Hollywood. Gut check, I want to put you on the spot right now. If you think that you can get two guys in the NWO that won't bury you or stab you in the back, we challenge you guys to a 6-man tag match from hell right here tonight." I don't know what a 6-man tag match from hell is, but he's challenging him to it. Sting says nothing.
Neither does WCW.
Yeah. Sting does nothing. He says nothing this time. I'd take a little swig of water because my voice is going to go out. Barry Darsow then gets murdered by Goldberg. More Nitro Party. Scott Hall says he has no time for a survey because we have to solve a few problems in the NWO. He calls out Savage and says he doesn't like him talking bad about Hogan. He says he will team with Hogan later tonight. Hall then tells Sting he will have to prove to Hall that he is better than him. Nash comes out after commercial saying that he will also help Hogan in this war tonight. He also calls out the Giant. So, kind of predictably, these are the two guys joining. Also, I think it makes a lot of sense. These are all your storylines. I like it. I'm fine with it. Billy Kidman then faces Dean Malenko. Jericho comes out to seemingly scout Malenko. Malenko locks in the cloverleaf for the win. Jericho tells the Flock to attack Malenko, but they attack him instead. What? Why?
Well, I mean, they are doing that thing that like Raven is kind of like an abuser. So maybe that, I don't know.
Yeah, but like, why attack? Whatever. Anyways, this is a storyline that they're totally going to drop. There's no way they keep this storyline going. Bischoff and Hogan again come out. Bischoff calls Mach the dumbest human being on the planet. Hogan says that the NWO locker room were falling over themselves to prove their loyalty to Hollywood. And I do like that, actually. More Nitro Party at Duke University. Bryan Adams faces Chaos of High Voltage and squashes him with a tilt-a-whirl slam. So no longer using the heart punch as his finisher. Now it's a tilt-a-whirl slam, which is better, but still a weird finisher. Conan comes out and says that the fans don't respect Mexican Lucha Libre and calls out Hoovy, who he says can't wrestle him, the best Mexican wrestler ever. He instead lets Hoovy face someone he chose that if Hoovy beats, then he can face Conan at the pay-per-view. And he says this person is the same size and ability as Hoovy. So that seems pretty fair. If you could beat this guy,
absolutely.
Yeah, then you can take me on. And so naturally, famed cruiserweight luchador Scott Flash Norton comes out, which is objectively funny, and Hoovy seems to have no shot, and Norton, of course, wins this. I loved this segment. We get a vignette showcasing Benoit versus DDP versus Raven at Uncensored. Perry Saturn and Raven then face Chris Benoit and DDP, who do not seem on the same page. For the most part, the Flock find creative ways to distract the ref and work on DDP. Raven low blows Benoit and goes for the even flow DDT. Benoit reverses it into the crippler crossface. DDP hits an avalanche diamond cutter on Saturn, but in doing so, accidentally breaks up the submission hold that Benoit had. Benoit and Page start throwing hands and brawl out of the ring and out of the arena, so they are counted out. Then we see, this is so weird. It's okay. Let me rephrase this. It is a nice sentiment, but it is very weird the people they got to do this. We see Disco Inferno. Actually, let me start this over. At a children's hospital, we see Disco Inferno and Goldberg. It's just strange. They're there to like cheer up the kids or something. It's just a weird pairing. It's Goldberg's and then he's just like playing with kids at the children's hospital. Again, nice sentiment. I don't have a problem with the sentiment, but it is strange. It is very strange. British Bulldog faces Conan and beats him with the power slam. Ric Flair arrives to be interviewed by Mike Tenay, who brings up when Hennig betrayed Flair like 6 months ago. Why? Because later tonight, Flair will face him again. Flair styles and profiles, but doesn't say much. Disco Inferno faces Chris Jericho, who is still wearing Hoovie's mask. During the match, commentary lets us know that the horse shit over the top rope DQ that they have made a rule is no longer a rule.
Yes.
It is now not a rule anymore. So now you can throw people over the top rope. It will not result in a DQ. So finally, that is over. This is the moment that happens. I was very surprised listening to it when it happened. Jericho wins with the Lion Tamer, which we knew he would. More Nitro Party. Chavo Guerrero gets a TV title shot against Booker T ahead of his Uncle Eddie's shot at Uncensored, and Eddie doesn't seem too happy about it. Booker wins this with a monster missile drop kick, and then Eddie attacks Chavo. That Eddie, man, just doesn't really seem to like his nephew. Kurt Hennig.
No, not at all.
Kurt Hennig faces Ric Flair, who grabs a mic and says, "This is for North Carolina and every horseman." Flair hangs Hennig in the Tree of Woe and places a chair on his face. He was going to drop kick it or stomp it, but the NWO attacked Flair and they put him in the exact same position instead. However, Bret Hart runs in for the save in a timely manner this time, and he and Hennig start swinging to set up their match at Uncensored. Up next, Lex Luger comes out with Rick Steiner, who has a pit bull with him. They face Scott Steiner and Scott Norton. Lex gets sick of Scott Steiner's cheating, and they brawl, resulting in our second countout. We finally get our main event. 6-man tag team match from Hell, Hall, Nash, and Hogan, the NWO, versus Savage, Sting, and the Giant. This starts as a brawl, then settles into a whatever match. Nash gets chased off by the Giant, turning this into a standard tag match. Then the Disciple attacks Savage and hits a stunner, so now 2 guys have the stunner on WCW. Hogan gets the pinfall win as we close out the show. I'm actually okay with this. I think this makes a lot of sense. I think this is how you should book the go-home show. I prefer it to the all-out just pull apart we got last week. This is much more, like it's he doesn't win clean, but it is a much more clean situation. I prefer that. I can't say I'm enthused for this rivalry going into the pay-per-view, but at least they're doing the right things on this when they really haven't been the last few weeks. The only thing, honestly, like that I'm super excited for going into the pay-per-view is genuinely DDP, Raven, and Benoit. It's the only thing that actually makes me go like, okay, that seems like it's going to be good. I mean, Jericho and Dean Malenko are going to be good because Jericho and Dean Malenko, but there's no reason from a viewing point for me to be hyped for that match. I have hindsight's 2020 to tell me that this is going to be a great match. At this time, there's no reason for me to think it's going to be a great match. Anyways, yeah, that is our go home show. What did you think, Scott?
Thought it sucked. It's fine. It's just WCW is just, it's rudderless.
Yes.
It's just so rudderless. Do we need, and again, like, I think you're right. I think they handled it fine tonight, but do we need these guys in the main event every single night? it really, I feel like it really kind of devalues the pay-per-view. I've seen these guys wrestle. I mean, this is the second week in a row. I've completely blanked out on what the match was the previous week. Let me just click back real fast because it's probably the same damn thing. I've already chosen to forget it. Sting and Scott Hall. So yeah, kind of the same thing. And it's just like, what are we doing? I want something different. I don't know. I'm bored. I'm bored of it. And I felt bad. I felt bad for Barry Darso, who is a Hall of Famer, getting now officially one half of Demolition. He was Smash.
Yeah.
And he getting jobbed out to Bill Goldberg. It's like, what are we doing? I guess we'll find out at the pay-per-view.
Yeah. No, they're not exciting. And it is crazy watching
No.
Raw. And I will say that I think Nitro or WCW, I think, has been having slightly, I don't want to say better, but slightly more impressive pay-per-views because a lot of their undercard is really good. And so their main events
Yeah.
are very boring, whereas WWF has the opposite. Their main events are really fun, and their undercard hasn't been too great right now. It's gonna change soon. It's gonna be like everything's on fire. But right now their weekly program is way better to watch. It's just way more interesting. So it's yeah. Like you said, right? It's kind of the same thing week in and week out. So that
Yeah.
becomes boring to watch. It's the reason we stopped watching AEW because it was the same thing week in and week out.
We're getting the same 3-4 guys every plug and play main event every week. And then you're like, oh, and then these guys are gonna be the main event of the pay-per-view. It's like, I've seen them.
Yes. Yeah.
I've seen them. And I don't think the 3 hours is helping them. I
No.
think it's making things worse because then they just have they gotta shove more crap in. They just need a smaller, tighter product,
Yes.
and they're not gonna do it. Spoiler, they're not gonna do it.
Yeah. No,
And they're
they did
gone.
the opposite. They got 2 more hours for Thunder, and
Yeah,
they
it's
don't know
so
how to
bad.
fill that either. So
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, WWF will start doing this too because right, we have Raw. We're gonna get SmackDown at some point. They have Heat. Like they're gonna have a lot of products going
yes.
too, but somehow they do it better. Because SmackDown's great.
Yeah.
Because when SmackDown comes around, SmackDown's great. Heat's not bad.
Yeah.
You know, and Heat really kind of serves the purpose of getting you excited. But they also understand Heat is like they use Heat as a vehicle to get you excited about the pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
Because Heat's like right before the pay-per-view.
Yeah, it
And like,
was either this is our developmental show, like we're gonna have like random people you haven't seen, and if they do well here, maybe we're gonna sign them. Or if it was the week of a pay-per-view, it would lead into the pay-per-view. That was the point
yeah.
of Heat, and I think that worked really well.
WWF at least has like there's a logic to what they're doing
Yeah.
that WCW does not have.
Yes.
WCW is just putting content out to put content out. That's all they're doing. And it's bad. And give us $2 a month and you can hear about why Uncensored is bad.
Well, and
Bye,
also
guys.
well,
Oh, okay.
I will
Go
say
ahead.
I will say real quick, one of the things that's so great about, like Heat is that they also just use the exact same sets.
Mhm.
So, they like and Velocity was the same thing, right? Velocity is literally the SmackDown set. Heat was the Raw set. And so what they would do is they would just use the same set. They would pre-tape those and when they were doing the show, and then they would move on. Whereas with WCW, they have a different set for Nitro, they have a different set for Thunder, which is fine. And then they have a completely different set for Saturday night. And it's like, so your
605.
your costs go up because you're having to constantly do all these things. They really love to spend a lot of money on something that failed. Whereas WWF would go, hey, this may not work, but we're not spending that much money because we already are using the same parts that we already have. Much like Star Trek, that would just recycle the exact same ships over and over. And then be like, oh, this
And
is
sets
yes.
and
Yeah.
locations. Yeah.
And it was great. And we loved it.
This is green background planet and this is red
Yeah.
background planet. They're completely different.
Yeah.
Speaking of something completely different, Uncensored 1998 is next
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
on Patreon.
$2 a month.
Bye.
Bye, guys.